Uh, we were part of the team a couple of years ago that worked on the Obama iPhone app. And it was an amazing experience. It was a 23-day sprint to build this app and try to do something that would change the world. And it was great, and I'm not here to talk to you about that. So if you have questions about it, please let me, talk to us afterwards. But the reason that we bring it up is actually what happened after the app launched was more interesting, I think, for those of us in the room, and particularly for us as a business, is that we had a big decision to make, and we were in the height of the recession. The stock market had just done all of its craziness, and every single day there were people coming up to us asking us to build them iPhone apps. In particular, that they wanted us to go do native development, and we spent 2 months considering whether or not that was actually what we wanted to do, because we had started the company particularly to focus on mobile web, but when you wake up every morning and you read depressing economic news, you find yourself thinking that maybe you should go do the things that everybody wants you to do and where the money is easy, as opposed to going and doing the stuff that's harder and where it doesn't seem to be as lucrative. A lot has changed since then, with probably the exception of those depressing headlines. So we'd like to talk about it because we don't actually know if we made a good choice or not, or if we actually just completely screwed ourselves. So, but if we go back and we look at what was going on back then, I think overall we had there was a lot of press and a lot of publications talking about how Web 2.0 and things like that were actually things that were changing and endangering applications. How was Adobe going to compete with online photo editing software and this sort of stuff? And people going so far as to talk about the fact that mobile applications were dead. But as we all know, that changed very rapidly with the addition of the App Store. And this paradigm that we had going, where we had Web 2.0 applications and these web-based apps and services and mashups and software as a service and computing, we've gone completely the opposite direction. We have siloed applications that don't really talk to each other. There's no recurring revenue. There's no local storage. All of these problems, which now we're on the other side. Now, before we had apps that were dead, now we've got the web that's dead. And just on that note, whenever you have somebody talk about that, I want you to return this challenge to them. I want you to ask them to find a single report that they don't actually have to prove that the mobile web is dead. They just have to actually find one report that shows that there's not exponential growth. Because we see this over and over again. We see 600% growth. Every single report that I see is showing this sort of growth going on in mobile web. So we were looking at the landscape that we all know, with all these different phones and all of these different operating systems and development environments, and listening to stories. The mobile leader for Google in the UK was talking at a Mobile Monday there and saying how they have 100 different builds for doing Google Maps in order to support all the different platforms they're on, and that even for Google that was too much to maintain. So of course fragmentation is what the web was supposed to solve, which brought us back to this quandary, right? This question that we had, where we had something that made us very, very successful and got us quite a bit of notoriety in the Obama application, but was this actually something that we could replicate? And forgive me for the pun, but in fact, yes, we can. We realized that there wasn't any features that we had done in the Obama application that was something that could not be done with PhoneGap. And so we made what seemed like a crazy bet at the time. We've watched there was another group that we worked with, or another individual, Raven Zachary, who's local, great guy, good friend of ours. He started another company doing iOS development, and they've grown much quicker than we have because they're doing native development on iOS, and that was really, really hot. And there was a long period of time when we couldn't get anyone to talk about anything but native development. But I think we've actually been successful with the bet we made, and we wanted to show you a couple of quick projects related to that. And so I'm going to hand it over to Liza and talk about Entertainment Book and a couple more.
Hi there. So yeah, we did it. This project has been a great one for us. Entertainment Book, you might be familiar with them, even if it was back from your childhood, the big thick books you get with all the coupons you rip out, you go to your restaurants or your stores, you get 10% off your Whopper or whatever. So they're a big company. They're located in the Detroit area, and they were looking for a mobile strategy, and they did want native. And so the solutions that we've built for them are absolutely across the entire spectrum. We've got PhoneGap releases in the various app stores for iOS, Android, and we did do BlackBerry natively for them originally, but we have actually talked them out of that because it's pretty painful. So we also have a mobile web variant that catches everything else. So it's all across the board. So I'm going to throw it up on a few devices here real quick. So be patient. This camera thing's a little new to me. So yeah. This drawer, by the way, is like my reality. I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, the mobile world is like WebKit only and just, Ajax for the win, but not always. It's going to work, it's going to work, it's going to work. Aha. Okay, so this here is a native app. This is an iPod Touch, and it's a PhoneGap app. You can get it in the App Store now, entertainment. It's a companion app for finding coupons at locations that are near you. You can filter and do all sorts of things as you would expect. One of the cool things about this, and this looks really slick and native, is that once you have a result set, tilty, and you have a map of all of those. Oop, we got to keep it tilty. Very, very native feeling, and people kind of like that. That's pretty snappy. So it is native. So yeah, that's why it looks so good. So that's on an iPod Touch, but we also have, our. Actually, that's the web. Haha, see, we're tricky like that. Here's basically the same interface on an Android, and yay PhoneGap. This is our HTML, CSS, JavaScript-based app, and it's a little bright right now, but it's the same thing. But we've tweaked it to be appropriate for an Android device, and it feels more like the Android metaphor, and it works, and it's great, and we're all happy. So that's another native variant. Hey, but watch this. Well, not the dropping part. Nope. They all look so similar. Nope. All right. This was our PhoneGap BlackBerry app, and I don't know that many other people who've made really complicated PhoneGap apps in BlackBerry. Is there anyone? Well, yeah, but remember your whole quote about setting himself on fire or whatever? Anyway, so we did this. Our developer quit, if that's... But, he's dead to us now, but he's actually right there. But yeah, so after delivering this app and burning through a developer and lots of tears and anger and fury, we did successfully talk to the client and say, this whole native thing makes a lot of sense for iOS and Android, and let's keep doing that and move on to our next phases. But, BlackBerry, let's just give them the mobile web, because really, we can do the same thing. That's a browser. It's, oops, no touchscreen on this guy. So our mobile web variant of this app is basically the same, because, that's what it was written in. So that's that app. So we have done other cool things with the web and the mobile world, and we're going to run through just two more of those. There's this website, it's called Outlook. It's one of these, there's this niche in the web where they have these things called flash fashion sites, where at exactly some time during the day, usually in the morning, 8 a.m. is a popular time, a particularly high desired logo will go on sale on this website, and you have to get there right at the right time, and steal things from other people, and try to buy it as fast as you can and make really bad impulse decisions. So, but these are really popular sites. I have to admit, I've bought some things from them, and we did a project for Outlook that was aligned with their entire mobile strategy, and we did the mobile web piece. Now, Jason, you had a couple things you wanted to say about this project.
Yeah, so we were doing it at the same time that there was actually an iOS app being developed, and so we mimicked the iOS in terms of look and feel, and we moved it across to actually everything from, I think, 176 pixel devices all the way up. But what was really great is during the project, a lot of sort of the negative feedback people give you about using web technology within apps is related to performance and the fact that they feel like if you use web technology that the performance is going to be too poor. And in the course of this process, because we were developing at the same time, the native version was being developed by another group, the client kept talking to the native app developers and saying, why is the native app not as fast as the mobile web? All we've heard is that it shouldn't be this way. And just generally, with I know that the focus of today is a lot on apps, but we really concern ourselves with mobile web generally, which is part of the reason why we want to talk about a couple of these other pieces.
Yeah, so this was a really fun project because this site is required incredible performance tuning. They're in like the top 1,000 for traffic in the world, and everything hits it at exactly 8 a.m. PDT. So like doing some of the optimization for that and the intense caching, and my co-founder John over there did some amazing work. So if you want details on that, we'd love to talk your ear off about it because we had a great time with that. But this one has an even wider base of support. Jason, if you can turn this camera on real quick. This is the weirdest phone in the whole world. And I'd like to point out that this website, the mobile website for Outlook, works on everything, including this. Hi there. It works on that. OpenWave. Okay. So it's not like something we can do like, hey, here's your big JSON payload, do something with Ajax. We had to be really lean, and the support is really wide. So here it is on this weird phone running Windows or WinMobile 6. But just like the idea that, okay, it kind of looks awful, but it works. And then, here it is on our torch. So it really, the look and feel is really consistent across the different kind of devices as much as we can for the modern devices. So that was a really, really fun project, and I recommend it to everyone if you can find a project like that. It's really fun. And one last project we'd like to share with you real quick, and it involves beer, so it's kind of really fun. This is a local brewery. Some of you may have had the pleasure of dining in their establishment that's 1 block from here. And we got to do something kind of fun, which is we did their website, but we did it for everything. So this wasn't a mobile project per se. It was a mobile and everything web. So what you can see here is that the desktop feel is a little bit denser and heavier, but this entire site's very commercial and flashy and fun and does a lot. So it's really challenging to get it to work well across a whole lot of different mobile phones. The cool thing, or just one cool thing that it does on my iPhone here, is that it does a whole lot of stuff, but the fun thing it does is, say you're really fiending to find their particular beer, Black Butte Porter. You're like, I want Deschutes Black Butte Porter right now, where I am. It does do nice location stuff in your browser, and it'll say the nearest Black Butte Porter. First of all, say there's the Volcanic Funk Fest is featuring this beer, if you want to get that. But you can see the closest places you can get it are on this block because it's like all over. But it'll find you the closest place to buy or drink that beer. So that's kind of fun. That was a fun project, and that's what we do.
All right, so the other thing we want to talk about is just simply that that PhoneGap has come a long way. This is, what the site looked like in 2008, and obviously, yeah, it was the most useful app from the iPhone Dev Camp. It was awesome. And and that and it's really a remarkable accomplishment how far it's come, and it's great. It's tremendous validation. We weren't certain that we were making the right choice in 2008 and betting on PhoneGap, but even though we're here to sort of celebrate the things that have been accomplished, we wanted to sort of set forth some things that we'd like to see happen and some challenges to make the mobile web future that we'd like a reality. The first one is continuing to apply pressure to the manufacturers to make the mobile browsers better. This for me is probably the biggest thing we can do. The dream of PhoneGap is that PhoneGap goes away. The dream of Winery is that Winery goes away. People have been beating up on Apple with the idea that Apple is somehow holding back the browser in favor of native apps, and yet it's much more likely, it's pretty well rumored and pretty well sourced that actually what's going on inside Google is infighting between the Chrome team and the Android team, and that's why the Android browser is not getting the sorts of improvements that it needs to actually be a reliable platform for us to deliver stuff. At Google I/O in 2010, they announced and talked about adding the gyroscope, the accelerometer, and camera access, and they still haven't shipped it. And Apple shipped 2 of the 3 in the meantime. So we've got a ways to go. And the second piece, and part of the reason why we talked a lot about design was actually because we need more beautiful PhoneGap apps. This is something that Andre and I have talked about a few times, this idea that when you go to talk to people about doing stuff with PhoneGap, the examples that you have to show them aren't examples that make them feel like this is a platform that can be used to deliver stuff that's delicious, that people want to interact with. And I know that that's not true. I believe that the entertainment book app that we built has accomplished that, and I believe that there's nothing preventing people from doing it. We just, I think, need to raise our standards. And this is actually something that I disagree with my colleague LaRue on, who has talked several times about how native scrolling doesn't matter and all of these sorts of things. And I'm like, it matters in every conversation I have with clients. And that's one of the reasons with iOS 5, it's rumored that in iOS 5, that position fixed is fixed, and that we've got some sort of behavior that will allow us to do native scrolling. So the things that cause us performance headaches, the things that prevent us from being able to really take PhoneGap-based applications on, and whether we like it or not, iOS is the sort of mind leader in the market. The things that prevent us from doing that successfully are going by the wayside, and so we can actually do those, and we need to do more of them. So really, let's go to work, and that's it. Thank you very much.